Tatsuhiro Sato is a NEET, a hikikomori. Using more familiar terms, Sato is an incel who is unemployed. He seeks no further education and has no training. He's lived on his own in his room for years now. Due to this, he has social anxiety. After years of stationarity, he has lost connection with his friends, family, and purpose. After some time, he gets in contact with this girl who wants to save him from his terrible life. Sato rejects it. He does everything in his power to reject it. He doesn't want to believe he needs to be saved. He creates excuses, even going as far as to create a hentai game, although he knew this wouldn't actually fix the problem. The real problem was that he was feeling empty and devoid of true drive and purpose. Hentai itself is fake. It's twisting reality. It distorts what he expects from relationships and people. Those characters are perfect and can do no wrong. Real girls are not like this. Real girls are not perfect, and neither are you. You have to accommodate them. They don't mindlessly conform to your every desire. Those games feed the male fantasy. This, however, is a fantasy, and it distorts what love is supposed to be. Love is growing with someone. You experience the peaks and valleys with them. It tends to highlight your flaws as a person. Now you don't only think about yourself, but you're thinking about someone else. Learning about these flaws hurts. It's not immediately gratifying. This is how simulating romance robs you of its true joy. The peaks are so high in real relationships, not only because they're tangible, but because they have the potential to be so low. Love is a back and forth expression. You're both giving and receiving. In simulation, you're only really receiving and never giving. Real relationships have the potential for cheating, the potential to hurt you, but that's better than not trying and giving up altogether. Love isn't just a feeling. Love is a choice. These games don't acknowledge that. In life, you have disagreements. You face all sorts of obstacles, but it's your willingness to overcome that makes it so meaningful. It's understanding that they have the choice to back away, they have the choice to cheat, but they still choose you. If I made it so my wife was unable to leave the house and had no technology, it would be impossible for her to cheat. But is that really love? I may point to the fact that she had never cheated on me and therefore she loves me, but I ask again, is that really love? That's what simulated relationships are. They will do everything you want. They will be your perfect partner. But it's precisely because of our imperfections and hardships that makes true love so powerful. You aren't a child anymore. You are a person with responsibilities. Someone who's living in reality and not some fairy tale. The simulated girl will never hurt you, never betray you, and because of this, they cannot love you. They're a program, not a dynamic, individual person capable of actual love. When you interact with a human, and you have positive interactions with them, and they do something nice for you, it means a lot more than when a program does it. They understood the sacrifice they were making and did so willingly and lovingly. They could have made another choice, but chose this one, for you. Love has the potential for emotional ruin, but also the potential for great joy. This is reality, this is tangible, this is raw, this is living in the real world. This is the concept Yamazaki was unable to understand.
Can't you see that women are nothing more than mere humans? The concept of moe doesn't even exist in the real world.
You talk big, but you're no different than me! Admit it, you're in love with that Nanako girl from your school, aren't you? You even used her as the model for the heroine in the game, didn't you?
It isn't until he's forced to leave his apartment and go back to his farm, divorced from a lot of his technology, where he starts to realize this. I want to make it clear, first of all, that technology isn't bad or even demonized in the show. It is an effective means of communication and entertainment. Yamazaki still has a lot of manga in his room, but it shouldn't replace the real thing. It's not confirmed or anything in the anime, but it is my personal belief that once Yamazaki disassociated himself from his old addiction, spending more time with his family and not people he didn't like in his school and keeping to himself in Moe, he was able to open himself up to the real experiences. So much so that after what seems to be a few months, he got himself a fiancé. Sato doesn't want to live in this world. He wants to rot his life away as a hikikomori. Every attempt to fix him, he rejects. On some level, he knows what he's doing is wrong and wants something edifying. But he has become such a slave to his lifestyle that he feels as though he can't change. He's mindlessly going through life and not even enjoying it, but he's just so used to it that he mentally cannot make himself change. He's adverse to anything that makes him uncomfortable to an unhealthy degree. He wants to stay in his room, keeping to himself in mindless consumption. Video games, drugs, smoking, etc. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with consuming to relax, but your existence shouldn't revolve around aimless hedonism. The effects of this lifestyle are not neutral. They are demonstrably bad. Despite living with his neighbor for 3 years, Sato didn't even know that his neighbor was Yamazaki, someone he already knew. He was too afraid to go out and even find out. In society, we have the ability to do whatever we want as long as it doesn't hurt other people. This is what we call freedom. But I ask, freedom to what end? How free is Sato? How free is someone who can't leave their room? How free is someone who doesn't have the ability to talk to people? He may have freedom in the literal sense, but he's not liberated. He's a slave to his passions. He clings on to his misery like Gollum and his precious. He cannot break free from it. Aristotle and Plato defined liberty as the freedom to do what is good, and I think that's a more practical definition for what I'm talking about. This makes freedom only desirable given we are a moral and disciplined people. When we are not, we are misusing it. And freedom to misuse pleasures does not make you free, it makes you a slave. Sato refuses to get help from this girl no matter what. He doesn't want to change. It's gone to the point where changing would create such a strong cognitive dissonance that he wants to stay the same. He wants to keep believing the world is conspiring against him, the unshakable feeling that he's always being judged. This is the NHK, a conspiracy, an overwhelming force that destines you to a life of misery. His fear of failure overrides his desire for purpose. He identifies as a hikikomori, but that isn't who he is. You are destined for a meaningless, sad life when you attach such an important part of your identity to not only meaningless conspiracies, but meaningless conspiracies that are wrong. A NEET shouldn't be a major part of your identity. Your identity shouldn't be rooted in something so malleable. You may be down bad now, but with proper guidance and willingness to change, you can break free. The life of a hikikomori is a lifestyle, and thus to change it, it would require a lifestyle change. Like a drug addict who's no longer able to get his fix, he will struggle and face withdrawal at first, but in due time, he will be free, no longer a slave to his old self. Thus too, a hikikomori must break free from his life. It'll be hard and he will face challenges, but he must face them. The possibility of recovery should override the risk of social awkwardness and uncomfortableness. It's like someone who first begins to exercise. They may feel pain, but the lasting impact will be larger muscles. Breaking free is akin to psychological exercise. If you were to ask someone who's binging Netflix how they feel, they would tell you they feel pretty good. If you were to ask someone who's exercising how they feel, they would say they feel pretty terrible. However, the person who's been exercising will feel better in the long run. This is what it's like to break free. I do have to stress now that success isn't guaranteed, but taking the risk and failing is preferable because you have now conditioned yourself to succeed. You have conditioned yourself to find tangible value and identity. If a drug addict quits indulging, it may not fix his marriage, but it does condition him to at least begin the healing. Fulfillment and joy come from what is real: family, nature, experience. Fulfillment cannot be bought. This rich man had bought an island all to himself, but had no fulfillment. He's a divorced man who felt used by his wife and didn't want to live. Him and a couple other people on the beach wanted to take their life away for different reasons. They all felt as though there was nothing worth living for. Right before they do, they realized the mistake they were making. They realized how selfish it was for them to end their lives when there's still people who would mourn their death. The show makes it clear that you are not alone. You are not an individual. You are part of a greater whole, a network. We are not just flesh and bones, but we are memories and souls. Your life affects everyone you've met. To take your life away would be to take a part of someone else as well. You aren't trapped in a vortex of despair. You can get out. You can make the choice to live. Depression does not have to result in suicide. Death is not the result of depression. To say so would suggest that it's the same as pancreatic cancer, a deadly cancer that will almost invariably kill you. Depression is not like a disease. You have free will. You do have the choice to live. A decision made in pain and despair is still a decision. Cancer will kill you against your will, but depression doesn't have to. One of the guys realized this at the last second. He realized that he had the power and choice right when he needed it the most. He understood he didn't have to kill himself. Now, just because you have power and you have a choice doesn't mean that you shouldn't talk to people when you're in that state of mind. You absolutely should. Don't go through it on your own. When he opened up, many other people opened up and helped each other get through it. At the end of the series, Misaki, feeling hopeless, tries to commit suicide. She's been nothing but a burden to everyone she's been around, and no one wants to see her. She's completely worthless. Less than worthless. She actively hurts everyone she meets. The only person she found solace in was Sato, but even then those feelings weren't reciprocated. Sato, even someone Misaki considered even more worthless than herself, ended up not even needing her, ended up not even wanting her. There must be some god conspiring against her, her own NHK. What's even the point of living? Humans have this deep desire to feel needed and important. It's why people take on fulfilling jobs. It's why people have kids. It's what separates us from animals. Animals are content with eating food and playing. Humans have this elevated desire to be appreciated, needed, to feel as though they're making a difference. When robbed of that feeling, we feel empty. Misaki felt as though the cat needed her. She didn't care if the cat would leave if she stopped feeding him. She just needed the assurance that she was needed somewhere. This is what makes Sato and Misaki's deal at the end so powerful to me. At the end of the series, Misaki and Sato come to an agreement that they will keep each other alive no matter what. They see themselves as useless and worthless, but they don't care because they see each other as having infinite value, so they would never let each other die. They derive their purpose not caring about themselves, but caring about each other. It's a morbid, depressing, but also somewhat romantic agreement. As humans, we want to feel challenged and overcome those challenges with hard work. We find it innately satisfying to level up, so to speak. This is why going to the gym and working out is so satisfying. This is why reading a book from back to back is so cathartic. You feel as though you accomplished something and that you're leveling up. This, by the way, is also what makes video games so addicting. You aren't actually doing anything or leveling up, but you feel as though you are. For some time, video games gave Sato a false sense of accomplishment. There's nothing wrong with playing games as a hobby, but this shows exactly how dangerous video games can be if played too much, especially without that being your job. It makes you think you're the biggest winner in the world, when in reality you've actually done nothing. This will, in turn, downregulate your baseline motivation to do real, tangible things. This primal drive we have to improve and get better is satiated. Sato understands this feeling of accomplishment is rewarding, but he needs to redirect himself to primarily get that feeling from working on something tangible. It isn't actually just limiting video games or quitting smoking or quitting pornography in and of itself that will reap major rewards. It's the philosophy of retraining yourself to put in time and effort before reaping rewards. To put in work in order to succeed, to exercise in order to feel healthy, to study in order to be smarter, and many other examples. Difficult problems require difficult solutions. What you find in life is that you cannot solve difficult problems easily. If there's a serious problem that has a simple solution, chances are it's not really a solution. If there was a pill that made you lose 10 pounds, it probably isn't all it's cracked up to be. This was acknowledged in the Pyramid Scheme arc. Megumi got trapped in the pyramid scheme because she thought her brother's major problem could be solved with a simple solution. Thankfully, Sato gets a job as his family's situation becomes worse. Similar to Megumi's brother, he was forced to adapt as the situation changed. This was incredibly hard for them, but it eventually worked out. I suppose being deprived of the basic necessities of food and water can do that to you. Finding happiness is not avoiding suffering. Happiness is often found going through suffrage and overcoming it. If the story were to continue on its current trajectory, I believe Sato and Misaki should eventually find value apart from each other and fully overcome their problems. As seen with The Gamer, self-help books and philosophy aren't the cure in themselves. They're supposed to guide you towards fixing yourself. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I think that's a good note to finish this video on. Don't just sit around here reading about fixing things. Don't sit around watching videos about fixing things, even my videos. Go out there and actually fix things. You can read all you want about the science of exercise and the technique of the bench press, but until you actually do it, you don't know what it's like and you won't truly understand it. So get out there and get shit done. Don't just learn about it on a philosophical level. Do it for yourself so you can truly understand it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Peace.